What's going on, Jack Sauce, Eric here, and Jackson? It is day 10 of the 2023 Bitter Pops Advent Calendar. He just wanted to say a quick hi because he just decided not to leave my lap. We've been having a great Sunday, football Sunday, very, very relaxing, just chilling. Bears won today, which is always a good thing, even when it's not as far as draft ranking. But this is not a football blog. This is all about beer, and it's all about day 10 of the 2023 Bitter Pops Advent Calendar. Let's get into it, shall we? Day 10. I'm ready for a beer. It's been a nice, relaxing day, man. Oh, I love a good Sunday when all I do is sit and watch football. It doesn't happen as often as I would like it to. But that's okay. It's okay. Today, we got to. What are we doing today? We are doing the Fair State Co-op, The Key to Happiness. It's a German-style Dunkel beer. All right, guys. So, a couple things going on in this can. First off, it's the second day in a row. I have no idea what this brewery is. But I do know what co-op is, and I think it's fantastic. Fair State, The Key to Happiness, German-style Dunkel, and I'm very, very familiar with what a Dunkel is. Let's see if we can find out where this is from, because I really don't know this brewery at all. 2 days in a row. Let's see. Union-made, cooperatively owned. We'll get into that in a second. It's a collaboration. We'll get to that in a second. The Fair State Brewing Cooperative, Gold Dot. I have a feeling these are the groups that are part of the groups that are in there. Is this in Minnesota, did I just see? Yes, Minnesota, Minneapolis, Minnesota. That took a little bit longer than I wanted to. All right, so co-op brewing, man. This is becoming a hot thing. This is becoming a big thing, and I think it's great in the world of food and beverage, in particular for very small companies. Believe me, I know it's very hard to get something super small off the ground in the food world, in the beverage world. Jack Sauce has been a slow roll because I'm trying to do it on my own. One of the biggest fears, as any small business owner, is taking on too much money and not being able to repay that, and see ya, you're gone. But at the same time, you need money, and you need hands, and you need brains, and you need just help along the way, and that's what a co-op is great for. You see it in grocery stores quite a bit when a community comes together and buys into a grocery store, if you will, and they a lot of times will buy out bulk items and you get a significant discount. It's a great for community. Farming and co-op farming, several farmers will come together, each specializing in different agriculture or animal or whatnot product, and they come together and they run their farms collectively. It's great, and you're seeing it more and more in brewing. And it's fantastic. Essentially, what you'll do is you'll get a brewing community, home brewers together that are just right there, but just don't have the ability to take their home brewing or their nano brewing to the next level. They will come together, buy in a couple $100, $500, whatever it is, and they'll get together and they'll bring what they have to offer to this almost hive mind of brewing. It makes for great collaborative efforts. You learn all sorts of new techniques. Everybody brings their expertise. You find out everybody can share their yeast strains. It's just, there's so many good things to it. There are negatives, of course. Not every state necessarily allows for this, or state laws. You really have to check into that. There are hidden costs as you go forward. There's a lot of legal mumbo jumbo. It's a lot easier to file an LLC than a co-op status for a business, blah, blah, blah. But we don't really need to get into it. At the heart, at the soul of it, it's a great thing for small food and beverage, these co-op ideas. And I'm hoping that somehow, either legislatively or just business world, it's a little bit more welcoming to these ideas, because it really makes for some great stuff. So I wish I knew more about Fair State. Another one, put it on the list. Just like American Solera, I'm going to look up, and we'll talk in future beer reviews. Dunkel itself, the German-style Dunkel. I love this style of beer. This is a special beer. It's an old-school, historic beer. As a matter of fact, this style, Dunkel, the Munich Dunkel, was the very, very first beer to ever be legally codified, if you will, thanks to the Bavarian Purity Law of 1516. At that time, this was the style of beer that was being made and very popular in Munich when they said all you could really use was water, hops, and barley to make your beers, and that was all in here. At the time, beers were all very dark, bitter, because the kilning roasters hadn't come out yet, or the kiln roasters hadn't come out yet. The barrel roasters to properly roast malts, so everything was being done by open fire, a little bit darker. This uses Munich malt, which roasts at a much higher level or higher temperature, so it wouldn't get as bitter or bitter as fast, as well as I believe it's Spaten that perfected this. What they ended up doing, they didn't really have a way to control temperature. There was no thermostat, if you will. So what they were doing is something called decocting in their mashing, which means as they're boiling their grain after roasting it, they were taking some of it out, boiling it separately, and then bringing it back. This was a way to control temperature, and they would do it on a schedule to stop the bittering process, or making the beers taste horrible, and kind of controlling the temperature as they cook it. But what they didn't realize is the byproduct of that is they were opening up those malts and bringing out more of the sweetness and more of the roastiness and more of the flavors that we all love in a good German Munich style Dunkel. Lager yeast to use. Now, back then, when the original 1516 law came out, yeast wasn't included because they didn't know what it was. But they were making these during the winter, and the fermentation was taking place with wild lager yeast. They survive in a lower temperature. When you make it in the winter, the ale yeast that we're working, or the natural ale yeast, if you will, reacted at a higher temperature, and they sat on top. Well, the lager yeast would lay or sink to the bottom, and they're slower moving, and they evaporate in colder temperatures. So the fermentation is longer, but this draws out these big, bold, beautiful flavors. And that's, once again, what Dunkel is all about, is big, bold, malty, delicious chocolate and toasted barley, and so many good things. The Maillard reaction comes into play with this as well. When you're roasting these Munich malts at such a high temperature, you get that Maillard reaction, which is the chemical reaction that brings out those savory components in toasted bread, or if you sear a steak or a pork chop, that beautiful unctuous smell and that taste of toasted bread or taste of seared meat that can only be described as seared or toasted. That's Maillard reaction, and these grain go through that process as well, giving you that toasted deliciousness that's in a great Dunkel. They lost popularity into the 1800s when the kilning process became a big thing in Bavaria, and people were able to control how hot, or control more the kilning process, or the roasting process of their malts, making for lighter beers, and everything wasn't so dark. People liked the lighter beers, but luckily the style stuck around. And of course, nowadays, the Dunkel style is huge in the craft beer world here in the United States and in Europe. You go to Germany nowadays too. Dunkel can mean, as it means dark beer. You go to a small town in Germany where brewing is pretty much territorial, and you go to the bartender and say, I want a Dunkel. They're going to give you the local dark beer. It's not necessarily a Munich style Dunkel. It can be a Schwarzbier, Doppelbock, a Dunkelweizen. It can be a blanket term nowadays as well. But a true Munich Dunkel is just a beautiful, malty, delicious, toasted grain beer. Dark, kind of caramel, malted caramel colors, and then has a little bit of hops. They use a little, usually like Hallertauer hops at the end to bitter it out and kind of smooth it out with the sweetness of the malt. Let's get into this beer. I just sprayed the crap out of myself with that. Woo! That felt good. That woke me up. All right, guys, look at that. Classic color. Classic. This is awkward. Give me a second here. All right, we're back in business. Beautiful. Look at that toasted caramel. It's a little lighter, but they can be that copper kind of rust tone to it. Caramel. Looks like cream soda, like that IBC cream soda, if I can say that without them getting mad. Oh, that looks good. And on the nose, man, there it is. Roasted grain, chocolate, bittersweet chocolate, marshmallow, toasted marshmallow, which is another great example of the Maillard reaction. When you roast the marshmallow and you get that browning effect. Oh, man, how can you not love that? Roasted marshmallow over a campfire, that brown. Get back to the beer. This is the flavor I've been waiting for. 10 days in, finally. I love a good Dunkel, man. That is perfection as far as the style goes. I'd love to know more about what Fair State did, who came together, and what did what, and who's doing what there. But if you keep making beers like this, I'm going to become a fan really, really quick of what you guys are doing. Beautiful, full maltiness at the beginning. That toasted bread coming through, kind of like almost like there's kind of like a brioche sensation to it because there's such a creamy mouthfeel. And that's, again, those lager yeasts just taking a long time and pulling and extracting the flavors and the textures from the beer, man. That is beautiful. Little bit of hops at the end just to round it out. Very, very low IBU. Chocolate, man. It's like biting into semi-sweet chocolate. A little caramel, like salted caramel almost in the middle, man. That is a great beer. All right, guys, that's day 10. Day 11 starts tomorrow. Well, it is tomorrow. It doesn't start, it is. I'm just going to shut up and enjoy the rest of this beer. Cheers.